I'm Beth Beckman. On behalf of the Honors Program, I'm delighted to welcome you to a presentation by Cristelle Meza. She was mentored by Dr. Jennifer Jefferson, and her title is They Are Hungry Too, Governmental and Non-Governmental Strategies Addressing Access to Healthy and Affordable Food in Austin, Texas. So please welcome Cristelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here to listen to my thesis presentation. So this is my title, They're Hungry Too, Governmental and Non-Governmental Strategies Addressing Access to Healthy and Affordable Food in Austin, Texas. What I'm going to be covering in this presentation, first some food terminology, followed by who is affected in Austin, some of the challenges and initiatives taking place, as well as the big picture. By the end of this presentation, I'm not going to have a perfect solution, but I will propose a new way to look at the issue in order to take the next steps in reducing hunger and food insecurity. So here are three terms that I would like to quickly go over. Food insecurity, the main topic here, is defined by the USDA as households' level economic and social condition of limited or uncertain access to adequate food. Basically, households who are food insecure either currently don't have food access or are doubtful about how they're going to access their next meal. So what exactly is food access? It is, according to the Food and Agricultural Organization, it is access by individuals to adequate resources for acquiring appropriate foods for a nutritious diet. This means that households who have access to food have those resources available to not only purchase foods, but also reach the food sources in the first place. When I talk about a nutritious and healthy diet in this presentation, I am referring to a balanced and sufficient diet, including foods from all of the food groups, and containing limited sodium, added sugars, and saturated fats. So now the question is, who is affected? Here are some of the most vulnerable populations: families with children, students, as many of you are here, people with limited mobility, such as seniors, and immigrants. Fun fact, well, it's not a fun fact, but fact, 1 in 7 Texans are actually food insecure, which is pretty significant. So moving on to food access challenges. Here's a map provided by the Office of Sustainability for the City of Austin, illustrating some of the food access challenges. The darker the color, the more the areas are affected, according to these barriers here. The first one, food availability, refers to whether there's food available and what kind of food. Household income is pretty important because you need money to buy food. Proximity to food refers to the distance to grocery stores and other healthy food sources. And mobility options, certainly important in referring to transportation, such as having a car, taking public transportation, walking, etc. I also want to mention time is another important factor to take into consideration, tied closely with proximity and mobility options. So I want to point out, as you might see here, the darker areas tend to be east of I-35. Meanwhile, West Austin seems to be less affected. Income levels here are a lot lower than on this side. And if you take a closer look, you might see a curve, which is known as the Eastern Crescent. And basically, it's a result from long-standing systemic inequality in Austin. So you might be wondering, why should we care about these challenges here? So it's a really big public health concern. Here's a map, also from the City of Austin, illustrating the health challenges present in Austin. Again, you can see that the Eastern Crescent contains most of the affected areas that are impacted the most. And these are the challenges taken into consideration when building this map. As you can see, it's not just physical challenges, but also mental health challenges. And we want to avoid all of these because they all are costs. They're healthcare costs, and they can be long-term and irreversible in some cases. So that's our main issue here. Considering this information, we're going to look at some of the initiatives in Austin that address food access and food insecurity. And I want to mention that my research here today has been informed through a combination of academic articles, online sources, volunteering experiences, interviews with leaders in the field, and my insight as an economics major. So here are some governmental initiatives. You might have heard of SNAP, which is basically food stamps. This is a government-funded program where eligible families are given debit cards to purchase food, grocery items at participating stores, but not non-food items. There are also a number of programs that are targeted towards specific populations, such as the National School Lunch Program, provides more than 30 million students with healthy meals at school, and the Commodity Supplemental Food Program, which provides low-income seniors with supplemental food in packages that are delivered. And then this part here is more like a transitional program leading into the next slide, which is going to be non-governmental initiatives. But I put it here because these programs are really government-funded, but they're organized by nonprofits. So for example, farm stands and mobile markets are made possible by the Sustainable Food Center and Farm Share Austin here in the city. But people with SNAP benefits can use those to buy local produce here in their communities. And actually their benefits are doubled, or their benefits allow them to buy double the value of food through the Double Dollar program. And then Healthy Corner Stores. This initiative is organized by Go Austin, Vamos Austin, also known as GAVA, and they basically bring fresh produce to corner stores in areas that lack nearby grocery stores. And I just also wanted to mention a key number here is that for these, the government here, the city of Austin, provides about $400,000 a year towards food access efforts. So I want to mention, although all these initiatives do help individuals, I think it's more of a short-term alleviation, and it's also important to note that it doesn't solve a complete problem, even in individual families. For example, SNAP benefits might not be enough, or they might have other issues, such as getting to the grocery store in the first place if they lack a car. Moving on to non-governmental initiatives, here are some community solutions that I wanted to mention because I was directly involved with them through volunteering. Festival Beach Community Garden, basically an open space where community members can come and grow and harvest their own food. And then Mobile Loaves and Fishes. I volunteered in a truck team to hand out food and clothing items, specifically in East Austin. Central Texas Food Bank is a nonprofit. It does have some government funds, but also private and charitable funding. But yeah, it's a nonprofit that rescues food from grocery stores and restaurants and then redistributes it to the population. Both of these sections, though, it's important to know that not everyone, people are still hungry. Not everyone is, it is not the solution for everyone. And transitioning to private business initiative, delivery apps. There's Instacart, Shipt, and Walmart, some delivery services here that you can use. The biggest obstacle that many of you probably know is the high costs that come along with it in delivery, tipping, overpriced items, etc. But they can sometimes be worth it for people such as people with limited physical mobility that are not able to drive and go shopping and carry the heavy groceries. So now that we have a good understanding of food access, some of the problems and some of the initiatives here in Austin, I want to bring together my research experiences and insight to note that I believe that food access shouldn't just be addressed in isolation. Here, there are two great organizations that I think they take a step back and look at the big picture, and I think this is really efficient. So I'm going to talk a little bit about both of these. First, GAVA, which I mentioned earlier with the Healthy Corner Store initiative. They also use an approach where they go directly to communities and and ask them, what do you need and how can we help you solve those problems, rather than just handing out food. So one quick example would be if a community needs crosswalks to walk to a grocery store safely, GABA can go and inform them how to contact the Austin Department of Transportation to see how they can get those implemented, and thus food access will be increased. And then kitchen sink strategies really makes connections with people from all fields, businesses, policymakers, and just connects everything together rather than the whole food system together, rather than just looking at one little problem and trying to solve that. So both of these, I love how they look at the big picture and make connections. So what are the next steps? How can you help? Well, first by supporting community initiatives. If you want to donate or volunteer to a local organization, it's pretty easy to do that online. And then by looking at the bigger picture and voting for representatives that will do the same. There's not one specific policy change or solution that someone will come up with. It's more about thinking about Austin as a city and trying to have all the diverse populations thrive and allowing them to access basic necessities like a job and a house and food. Addressing these issues in this way, I think is efficient and will reduce food insecurity in the long run. So I want to thank first my amazing thesis advisor, Dr. Jefferson, for guiding me and challenging me this semester with my thesis project, and also Dr. Ekman, who guided me last semester. Dr. Rodenborn isn't in the room, but he is a wonderful human being, and he was great director of the honors program. And finally, thank you to my family for always supporting me and being there throughout my academic journey. Thanks.
We have time for a few questions. Questions?
So in the future, or as things go on, who do you think will play a bigger role in helping people access food? The government side or the non-governmental side, and then why?
Yeah, so from my research, I discovered all of these initiatives that these local organizations and such take, and I do think that they alleviate short-term problems and they help out families in times of need, but really I think policy change is necessary. I'm not a political science major, so I don't know exactly what those policies would be, but we need some kind of bigger guidance and help to move forward, for a more long-term approach.
So I see as I'm watching your presentation that you are including so many of these local groups. I would love to hear what your experience was with that research. It sounds like, I'm guessing you were meeting with them, doing a lot of in-person interviews, you actually did the work. Can you talk a little bit about your experience doing that?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them helped me realize, a lot of them just killed my assumptions about what it was to be hungry or need food. One of the most impactful stories I have is when I went to volunteer at the food bank during the government shutdown last winter, and it was my first time there. I didn't really know what kind of people showed up, but at one point I was helping a lady put groceries into her car, and it was like a really nice white Volvo, and I was like, why is she here? I didn't say that, but I was like, and then she just like started talking, and she was like the government shutdown, like my husband is not getting paid anymore, and we can't afford food, and so those kinds of moments made me realize like we can't just judge people. Some people are in certain situations that are just unavoidable, and I believe that these kinds of organizations can really help out. But again, I think it's more of a short-term thing. I don't believe that people should rely completely on these initiatives forever. It's more of a big picture thing that needs to be addressed for addressing food insecurity in the long run.
Lots of experiential research.
There's Dr. Rodenborn.
Questions? Dr. Jefferson, would you like to come and
Of course
confer
I
the
would.
stole on your students? They're right here.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
So let me, and I think I have enough of a voice
to carry in the room. Let me tell you two things about working with Cristelle. One is the depth that she would go to. So we would meet, and then I'd say, okay, so when we meet next week, you should have some contacts, think about who you might want to go volunteer with. She came back, how many people had you contacted? 10 people? Just through LinkedIn. And not even just, low-level people. She contacted the heads of organizations, and she had a very well-crafted email saying, I'm doing this research, would you mind giving me your time? I was like, oh, I have to be careful what I'm saying in these meetings because there's immediate action. The second thing that you need to know about Cristelle is how incredibly humble she is. How hard I had to work, and thank you, Professor Ekman, in your questions for pushing her to actually demonstrate the level of research that she did for her project today. Because not only did she do academic research, but she completed the IRE, which if any of you have had to do that, pretty onerous. And then she also volunteered with 3 organizations and interviewed lots of people about the different ways to address food access in Austin. However, in the process of preparing for today, I had to gently, and if you know me, the gentle is like this, eventually, prod her to say, I have done this research. And even when we were just standing out there, I told her she needed to own this project. Because I want her to own how proud she should be of the complete and total mastery she has of this topic. So, with that, can I give you your stole? You can come down here. And I'll give you a hug too, if you don't mind. And then I'll give you your stole, okay? And we'll face your mom for a picture. Join me in congratulating